You were never talking to her. That good morning text you paid $15 to unlock, it wasn't typed by the girl in the photo. It was likely typed by a shift worker in a warehouse 3,000 miles away, sitting in a cubicle managing 10 other girlfriends at the same time on 3 different monitors. This isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. As of late 2025, this is the center of a billion-dollar fraud investigation that is currently tearing the industry apart. While the internet argues about whether top creators like Corinna Kopf actually retired after making a reported $67 million, the real story isn't about who was leaving the platform. It's about who was actually on the platform the whole time. We're going to look at the ghost chatter lawsuits that have finally exposed the mechanical, industrial heart of the blue site. We will answer 3 specific questions. How did agencies industrialize intimacy without anyone noticing for 5 years? Why are the refund requests suddenly bankrupting smaller management firms this quarter? And most importantly, if you aren't talking to the creator, what exactly are you paying for? The reality is that the girlfriend experience has been outsourced, automated, and sold back to you at a markup. You thought you were supporting a creator. You were actually funding a call center. The chatter farm economy. To understand the sheer scale of this deception, you first have to understand the math. It is a numbers game that simply does not add up if you look closely. Let's look at the logistics released during the unruly class action filings. A top-tier creator in the top 0.01% effectively acts as the CEO of a small, multinational corporation. If a creator has 200,000 active subscribers, and even 1% of them, just a tiny fraction, decide to send a direct message on a Friday night, that is 2,000 incoming messages in a single evening. It is physically, biologically impossible for one human being to read, process, and reply to that volume of text while also filming content, going to the gym, traveling, and sleeping. For years, fans believed the silence or the delay was just part of the chase, part of the mystique. But the chatter farm model solved this volume constraint years ago. Leaked agency documents from the 2024 discovery phase show that agencies set up 24/7 shifts, treating the creator's account like a corporate help desk. When you messaged a creator at 3 a.m., pouring your heart out about your insomnia, you weren't waking her up. Her phone was likely in do not disturb mode on a nightstand. You were pinging a chatter, often a male employee in a completely different time zone, whose sole job was to keep the conversation going until you unlocked a paid post. These workers are often paid a base hourly wage plus a commission on every unlock they can convince you to buy. The shock here isn't just that they used assistants. Celebrities have used assistants for decades. The shock is the level of engineered deception involved in the process. According to the Hagens Berman lawsuit filed in July 2024, these chatters were allegedly given Bibles. These aren't religious texts. They are comprehensive dossiers on the creator's life. They include the names of her pets, her childhood street, her favorite foods, her allergies, and, crucially, her specific way of typing. Does the creator use all lowercase letters? Does she use specific slang or emojis? Does she hate pineapple on pizza? The chatter was trained to mimic these quirks perfectly. If the creator went on vacation to Cabo, the agency would provide the chatters with a folder of live photos taken weeks in advance, instructing them to drip feed these images into the chat to maintain the illusion that the conversation was happening in real time. The goal was seamless continuity. You could be talking to chatter A in the morning and chatter B in the evening, and you would never know the difference because they were both reading from the same script. But the deception goes deeper than just text. It involves a legal concept called wire fraud, and that is where the lawsuits get interesting. The legal tsunami. Fraud versus fantasy. This brings us to the most explosive part of the current drama, the shift from bad service to criminal fraud. For years, this was an open secret in the industry. Everyone knows, the insider said on podcasts, it's part of the game. But the difference between a rumor and a federal lawsuit is the terms of service and the promise of direct access. In mid-2025, the legal argument shifted. The class action suits argue that by failing to disclose that a third party was operating the account, the platforms and agencies committed fraud. The key evidence lies in the marketing. The creators didn't market access to my team, they marketed personal chats, direct access, and get to know me. According to reports from The Independent and Business Insider covering the lawsuits, some plaintiffs spent upwards of $20,000 believing they were building a genuine relationship with a specific person. When the news broke that they were likely talking to a team of ghostwriters, they didn't just feel heartbroken, they felt financially swindled. The lawsuits allege that this constitutes a deceptive act under consumer protection laws. The smoking gun in many of these cases comes from timeline contradictions. Internet sleuths and forensic accountants started cross-referencing public social media posts with private DM logs. In one cited instance, a creator was live streaming on Twitch, playing a video game with both hands visible on the controller. Simultaneously, her Blue Site account was sending long, detailed paragraphs about how she was currently in the bath and missing the user. You cannot be in a bath and playing Fortnite on stream at the same time. These timeline discrepancies became the concrete proof that shattered the illusion. The agencies got sloppy. They prioritized revenue speed over narrative consistency, and now that data is being used in court to prove that the person talking to the fans didn't exist in that moment. But the industry didn't just automate the text, they automated the emotions. And this is where the manipulation turns from a business tactic into a psychological weapon. The scripted love mechanism. You might think your conversation was unique. You might think that the joke you shared or the story you told created a special bond. But the data suggests otherwise. During the legal proceedings in April 2025, plaintiffs submitted logs showing identical responses sent to thousands of users simultaneously. This is where the expectation versus reality hits the hardest. You expect a spontaneous connection. The reality is a rigid sales funnel. Agencies categorize fans into tiers within their CRM software. Whales, the high spenders who drop thousands a month, were flagged for higher priority responses. They might get faster replies or longer messages, but even those personal touches were often prefabricated. Agencies would have the creator record a library of generic voice notes. She would spend a day in a studio recording phrases like, "I miss you so much," "I was just thinking about you," "Good morning, baby," or "I'm having a lonely night." These audio files were then uploaded to a dashboard. The chatters could simply drag and drop these audio files into the chat whenever a user's spending dipped. To the user, it felt like she just picked up her phone to record a message just for them. In reality, it was file number 402 sent to 300 other men that same hour. One leaked training manual from a major agency, which circulated on social media in late 2024, allegedly instructed chatters to always end with a question. This is a classic sales tactic. If you end a sentence with a period, the conversation can die. If you end with a question, it psychologically obligates the other person to reply. And on these platforms, a reply often costs money to unlock. If a fan said they were having a bad day, the script wasn't designed to offer genuine comfort. It was designed to pivot to a cheer-up bundle priced at $50. The emotional labor wasn't real empathy. It was a flowchart labeled objection handling. The chatters were trained to identify pain points, loneliness, a breakup, a bad day at work, and immediately offer a paid solution in the form of content. The financial implication is massive. Fans weren't paying for the content, they were paying for the attention. Once it was revealed that the attention was synthetic, the value proposition collapsed. It's like finding out your therapist is actually an AI text generator. The financial fallout, the refund apocalypse. So what happens when thousands of men realize they've been talking to a ghost? They call their banks. This has triggered a wave of clawbacks and chargebacks that is shaking the industry to its core. Usually, banks are hesitant to refund digital goods. If you watch a movie, you can't get a refund just because you didn't like the ending. But fraud is a magic word for credit card companies. Seeing the mounting evidence in the class action lawsuits, major credit card processors have started approving refund requests dating back months, sometimes years. They are classifying these transactions not as buyer's remorse, but as services not received. For the agencies operating on thin margins, this is catastrophic. An agency might have taken a 20% cut of the earnings, paid the creator 80%, and paid the chatters their wages. The money is gone. It's been spent on rent, cars, and lifestyle. When the bank claws back $10,000 from a user's history, the agency is often on the hook for the full amount. We are seeing a cascade of bankruptcy filings from mid-level management firms that simply cannot cover the liquidity crisis. They are drowning in refund requests for the fake intimacy they sold. They built a business model on the assumption that the customer would never find out. The moment the curtain fell, the debt came calling. The $67 million exit strategy. This leads us back to the top of the food chain. The creators who made it out. When Corinna Kopf announced her retirement, or at least her massive step back after earning a reported $67 million, the timing wasn't accidental. Smart creators saw the writing on the wall. The chatter model is unsustainable under the new legal scrutiny. New regulations in the EU and the US are pushing for impersonation disclosures. If a platform is forced to label every message with "sent by assistant" or "automated message," conversion rates will drop by 90%. The fantasy requires the suspension of disbelief. A disclaimer kills the fantasy instantly. The golden era of easy, outsourced millions is ending because the regulatory spotlight is finally on the industry. The creators leaving now are cashing out their chips before the rules change. They built generational wealth during the Wild West era where disclosure was optional and enforcement was non-existent. Now, as the industry faces regulation, mandatory ID verification for every single chatter, and potential fraud liabilities that could pierce the corporate veil, the easy money is gone. The creators sticking around are having to pivot to authentic content, actually replying themselves, which drastically lowers the volume of money they can make because they're limited by their own time. Conclusion: the industry sold a fantasy that was too profitable to be true. They told you that for $10 a month, you could have access to a superstar. They sold the idea that the barrier between celebrity and fan had dissolved. The reality was that you were paying a subscription fee to a sophisticated call center. The velvet vice here isn't the content itself, it's the illusion of access. The creators provided the face, the agencies provided the text, and the fans provided the money. Now that the curtain has been pulled back, the question is, will fans keep paying if they know the person on the other end is just a ghost? If you want to understand how the contracts behind these chatter farms are actually written and how creators legally sign away their digital voice to these agencies, you need to watch the next video in the Velvet Rope playlist. We break down the actual agency agreements that legally allow this impersonation to happen and the clauses that trap creators in these deals. Click here to see the paperwork they don't want you to read.